Behind those cozy nights at home, thousands of employees at BP go to work every day. People producing more U.S. natural gas. People building grid-scale solar capacity. People turning landfill waste gas into pipeline-quality renewable natural gas. And people delivering all of that power where it's needed. They're part of the more than 300,000 jobs BP supports across the country. Learn more at bp.com/investing in America.
Hey Giants fans, this is Chris Franklin from NJ Advanced Media, and welcome to Talk is Cheap, the podcast and show that we discuss all things related to the New York Giants. Now, before we begin, I want to remind you that you can read our content on NJ.com/Giants and make sure to bookmark that to get the latest Giants news and analysis. Well, it's the final regular season game with the Giants heading down the turnpike to take on the Philadelphia Eagles. It could very well be the last time we see a few people in their roles on the sideline too, but we'll get into that in a second. But first, let's speak with today's co-host, Giants beat reporter Ryan Novozinsky. Ryan, man, how's it going?
Chris, I'm doing great. Got a good night's sleep. I don't know if you saw that Saquon Barkley commercial, but I am personally sleeping well, just like Saquon is.
I wonder how Mara took that, especially with talking about how highly he thought about him, and also he looks like, oh, so it's like this, huh? Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of sleepless nights for him. That was just rough.
That's what I thought was funny, is that it was a dig at Mara. And like, I of course it's Mara's money, but Mara wanted to re-sign the guy. So I don't know. It's just kind of funny to me.
Yeah. If I was going to do something, especially if I'm Saquon, I'm just going, I don't know, maybe get like a cell phone commercial and look like, wow, looks like somebody's actually answering my phones and willing to offer me something. With this brand, I wasn't able to get a call from that. I don't know. Maybe he had to do something with that, but Mara just took a stray. He took a big time stray on that. But this is what we've come down to, what being week 18 and the Giants in the predicament they're in right now. And let's get into that whole entire situation. They kind of did the unthinkable, which, you kind of want to see teams win and go get momentum. But for the Giants' sake, who had the first overall pick in this year's draft, they blew it in a way. They beat the Colts, who with Shane Steichen, that probably is I think he may be on a hot seat, a very hot seat now, with the way that the lateness and all that stuff. But that's a whole nother story. If this was Colts talk, we'll talk about Colts talk. But the Giants are coming. The Giants defeated the Colts 45-33. It blew up their. It made it very tough for them to get the overall pick now, and seeing all the needs that this team needs, quarterback and offensive line, and maybe an edge rusher, what have you. There was a lot of chances that they had to do this, and you look at it and it's like, what the heck were they doing? So now when you look at Tankathon in terms of draft picks, just to give everybody up there, the Giants currently have the 4th overall pick right now. It's a 4-way tie between all the teams that are 3 and 13. According to Tankathon, the New England Patriots have the number 1 overall pick, followed by the Tennessee Titans, the Cleveland Browns, and then, of course, the Giants. Well, if you look at the upcoming schedule that's coming up right now, it's not favorable for all those teams. When you look at the Patriots, they may have a shot. They may win at the Bills. They have nothing to play for. Okay. So Patriots may win. Browns are going to get more likely to get boat raced by the Ravens. So there goes that. And you look at the Tennessee Titans, and you're just like, they're the Titans. They're playing the Texans. Yeah, so it's not looking good for them. So I don't know what they were doing. Anyway, I don't know. Ryan, I talked too much on this opening here, but I'm going to ask you when it comes to this. What were the Giants thinking winning it last week? And when you look at it, do you think it's enough? Say Daboll and Schoen win this next game against the Eagles. Do you think it's enough for them to save their jobs too?
Well, if I were covering a normal team, I would say, hell no, it shouldn't. Right? This is but this is the Giants, who recency bias for them. It's always, what have you done for me lately? And not just lately, but within the past couple days. And I have that is honestly one of the things that I kind of consider here when we talk about this upcoming decision on Black Monday is, man, like I bet you Mara might really take that into consideration. Like if Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen managed to win 4 games, but half of those came in the final 2 weeks, Man, they did great this year. That is probably the only 2 games you needed to win this year. They could have done it with 2 wins and probably still had the same result if it saves their job. It's just a whole recency bias thing. And I mean, holy hell, like the fact that the Colts gave up 40 plus points to the freaking Giants is just, again, unbelievable. It's an indictment on Gus Bradley, the defensive coordinator for the Colts. I know we don't want to get too in the weeds with Colts talk, but I mean, come on, man. I think ultimately, I don't believe it'll save their jobs. But the fact that it's even a consideration, the fact that we're even sitting here talking about this, it's ridiculous. And again, you talk about the draft implications of this. I know players don't care about it. I know there's, the coaches clearly don't care about it because they want to win to save their jobs. But I mean, you just see the fans online, like they are furious about it. You had it. You were in the driver's seat. The prerogative there needed to be, boom. The directives there needed to be, boom. Let's lose last 2 games. We've already gone this far, but at 2-13, we're already miserable enough there. There's nothing you can do in these last 2 games. And we get it. The locker room, the young guys, they were fired up after this last Colts game. No doubt about that. But that's not going to build any culture for you. I mean, come on. You were in the driver's seat. You could do whatever you needed. If you wanted Shador or Cam, you could take Shador or Cam at 1. If you wanted to trade down, you could trade down for a haul. Not to say that the Giants would, but you could do that. You had the flexibility. Now everything changes. The whole dynamic is different. You have to trade up if you want Shador Sanders or Cam Ward. And let's be honest, this might not be a draft. There might not be a quarterback worthy enough in this draft to trade up for. So I don't know, man. Well, to answer your initial question, will it save their jobs? It shouldn't, but it might.
Crazy. It's just to think about all the stuff that happened there. I look at it in 2 ways, and what the reasons why they should have lost. Because I'll look at it from a business perspective. If it's tough to say, like, to try to sell to everybody, like, you know what, we're going to lose this way. I know it's a tough sell, but to me, it's an opportunity cost in the sense that if you lost that game, sure, you're not going to have people people weren't there buying parking, buying merchandise, buying all that stuff. Yeah, it's bad. But imagine you had the number 1 pick and they get excited to say Cam Ward or Shador Sanders come in. Then all of a sudden, everybody's up. Everybody wants to buy jerseys. Everybody wants to see what this kid looks like. It's the Giants. What have you? You could have had that and you lost it. Now you're at the part where if you try to move up to get one of those guys, you have so much needs. You're going to have additional draft capital, and whoever winds up with that number 1 pick overall, they're going to want at least 2 first-round picks, probably a 3rd one if they're going to be bold enough to do that, or in a 2nd one. And you have so many needs at other places. Okay, do that. So now I'm looking at the quarterback position and I'm like, okay, where do you go? Do you go the free agent route? Well, it depends on who you bring in as a coach. And if you don't have that first pick, that job just doesn't look as attractive now. So now you're looking like, okay, do you go Jalen Milroe, who declared? You don't know where he's going to end up. To me, I thought he'd struggled a lot. To me, he regressed a bit this season. So I'm looking like, okay, Jalen Milroe, Kyle McCord, it's not like if he comes at McCord, if McCord comes out, if he does come out, I'm like, come on, like you should just bite the bullet. Go, like, listen, guys, I don't know if you have to pull the secret thing that happened with the Dolphins, where it's like, okay, if we lose, here's a bonus. Okay, whatever, we'll give you I don't know if you do that on a hush. What I don't know, but that was a huge mistake that set this franchise back. I think for a little bit, depending on. It doesn't make this job as attractive. It's just bad. I don't know what they're thinking. And all those momentum guys, those young guys who are like,
it's a great point to me. It's a great point. I mean, that's what, to me right now, I mean, we all know the Patriots have the quarterback, but what makes the Patriots an attractive option if they do move on from Gerard Mayo this offseason is, okay, they have the quarterback. Yes. They also have the number 1 pick, right? An offensive mind like a Ben Johnson, if they do move on from Mayo, or a Mike Vrabel, who obviously played there, might look at this and say, okay, yeah, that's appealing. Like I'm not only do I have the quarterback, but I have, I'm in the driver's seat for this number 1 pick. That's great. That is a selling point. That is definitely a selling point. Even if the Giants, who very obviously do not have the quarterback, even that they don't, they had that number one pick. That is a main selling point for your team. Now it's just, okay, this can go anywhere from the ranges of, yes, you can still technically get the number one pick, but you need a lot of help from teams that have not helped a lot this season. And not just that, but it can be anywhere from number one, unlikely, to number 4, which is kind of likely. But that's only if you lose. It can fall all the way down to number 9. I mean, what coach is going to want to come in here when you're a already terrible team? You have a brutal schedule next year. I mean, I was just looking at it yesterday. You get the Lions, you get oh my gosh, I'm blanking on it right now, of course, but it is a brutal.
You get the NFC North teams coming in.
Yeah, exactly. Oof. Yeah. And even the road games too. You get the Broncos. I mean, there's a couple tough ones there that are just not slam dunks there. I don't know what's going to go down with this team, but I think there are 2 things that would completely mess up the Giants' chances of getting a good coach coming in. That is number 1, not finishing with a top 4 pick. And that will happen that will more than likely happen if they don't lose this Sunday. And the other thing is keeping Joe Schoen. And I'm sure we're going to go into that more in depth here, but that's the other thing that I think would just make this a stain on the league or on this team.
Yeah, and you mentioned Shane as least which is my next question. When you look at this, he was out there watching the Alamo Bowl, watching Shedeur Sanders play, and he's having a prominent scouting role out there looking at that. And do you think that's a sign that he has some job security? And the one other question I want to ask you off of that is, do you think that Shedeur Sanders is their top target at quarterback going into this?
I think he is. And I'm going to be honest with you, Chris, that right there. I mean, I didn't think all season. I was thinking there's no way. Shedeur Sanders is too flashy of a quarterback for John Mara to want to pick. But then I thought to myself, Daryl and I, we just did a story on Shedeur Sanders today. And it's interesting, it really hit me this week. I'm walking around the practice facility. You're walking around and you see, of course, you see all the history. You see the Super Bowl trophies. You see everything like that. But that's the only modicum of personality that the Giants have. It's their history. The Giants needed an interjection of personality, of life here. And, Shedeur Sanders, who's obviously a talented young quarterback. I think if they're in position to get Shedeur Sanders, I think they'll go ahead and take Shedeur Sanders. Now, do I think that they should trade up for him? I don't really think that it's worth mortgaging a future first in order to get him, especially with how many needs this team has. But again, I've just grown accustomed to this team kind of making the wrong decision every time they make a decision. So, hey, maybe they'll just do that anyway. I think that they would take Shedeur. Now, will that have? If it's Joe Schoen, he'll certainly take one of the 2 quarterbacks, Cam Warner, Shedeur, if they're there. And if not, I think you're right. I think he would maybe force or take a Jalen Milroe or something like that. Either way, I think he probably, if Joe Schoen is back, which I don't know that he will be, that's just gut feeling. If he is back, I think that there's a chance that he would just completely take a quarterback just to save his job security. So get ready to learn Jalen Milroe, Giants fans. I mean, that's because this will be a desperate GM who's trying to, buy years of job security by taking the most important position in the sport.
Yeah, it's crazy. And to me, I look at that him going out there is like, no, I'm trying to fix it. Like, I know he still has a job to do and he needs to see that. You can go out there and visit and these quarterbacks more and more like you have your you have your scouting department look at this, getting the basics of him, trying to find out the background, what's he like as a student, what have you, blah, blah, blah. The fact he's going out there, it's almost like trying to force hands. Like, no, I have control.
Yeah,
everything's in control. I'm looking at this here.
definitely.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's like he's trying. It's like, nah, not. And the worst elite course, so not so fast, my friend. Like, you still need to go through all this stuff. It's crazy. And I look at the way that you see it, and to me, Sanders is clear after what Cam Ward after. I just have a bad taste in my mouth and feel weird with Ward. Like once you got the passing touchdown, your team was down, and you didn't have a comeback, and you decided, no, I'm good. I think that I know I talked to one person, a scouting member before, like a couple of days ago. Like that didn't set right. He's always talking about it. That didn't set right in some people's eyes, and you have to worry about the questions about competitiveness and all that stuff that's going to pop up. So I look at that. I'm like, yeah, Sanders is going to be the number one player overall. Is it worth going up to get him? And I think this actually kind of leads me to my next question: is if you do decide to go, okay, you draft your quarterback in the second round, or you trade back up to the late first with somebody to try to get whoever's available down there, so you can get the extra year of control, the fifth year. Are you bringing back Drew Lock as your bridge quarterback just based off what he did? Now, to refresh your memory from last week, Lock was 17 for 23 and 309 yards and 4 touchdowns against that Colts defense. Do you think he's played, no matter who the coach is, what have you, do you think he's played his way well enough to be a bridge quarterback so that whoever the Giants take or don't take, what have you, he's the one that helps lead you into at the beginning of the season before that rookie quarterback takes over?
You know what's interesting about Locke is I don't know if Locke would want to come back at this point. He was, of course, he ultimately won the job, and that's fine. But early in this, halfway through the season, when you bench and eventually cut Daniel Jones, they went immediately to DeVito, even when they signed Locke to a $5 million contract and named him the backup all season long. It was Drew Lock as the backup. Drew Lock as the backup. And then you don't play him right away. He was clearly, I mean, he was professional about it, but he was clearly like frustrated and confused by it. Now, again, we're still talking about a guy that is going to be looking for an opportunity. And if they say to him, look, we want to go the Jacoby Brissett, Drake May method, where does the bridge quarterback, or the, Michael Penix, Kirk Cousins, we want a bridge to play because we want our guy to cook a little longer before he's ready for whoever they take, whether it is Cam Ward or Sanders. We want him to cook a little bit longer, and then go ahead. Then you will have served your time, and as a starter, you get can look to potentially be a bridge quarterback for another team in the future. But we want you to keep playing and whatever, and we want you to be our bridge. That might be, definitely an enticing route. And perhaps Drew Lock would consider that because, again, Kirk Cousins is a little bit of a different case because, he was signed to a huge deal. But, I mean, and Jacoby Brissett, a bigger deal, but, definitely still a bridge quarterback type of deal. Maybe he'd be willing to accept that to show teams what he could do with a bigger sample size. But again, it's all up in the air. I mean, and Drew Lock too is kind of like a wild card quarterback. Like you just don't really know what kind of performance he's done enough to almost, and he obviously won the Colts game, and he's done enough to win. And he actually, there was I can't remember exactly what the stat was, but it was like advanced analytics showed Drew Lock played one of the best games in NFL history for a quarterback against the Colts. It was insane. Absolutely. It was the best in Giants history by far. And then in NFL history, like it was unbelievable. I didn't see exactly what the stat was, but it was insane. So maybe it could be, I remember there was a game towards the end of the season. It was like 10 years ago now, where Matt Flynn, you remember Matt Flynn, of course, like he balled out for the Packers, and then the Seahawks ended up giving him a huge contract. Maybe Drew Lock just like in these last 2 games will Matt Flynn himself into some money, but the Giants would kind of be foolish to give him a contract level like that.
Yeah, it's crazy. And this, I don't know, when you said that Drew Lock and you don't know what you get, all I think is Forrest Gump and just him. You don't know what you're going to get. It's crazy, like when you look at that. So Yeah, I don't know. I look at this here. There's not that many great quarterbacks that are going to be available for them to use. I mean, when you just look at the free agents that are available, Darnold's probably going to get either franchised by the Vikings, so he's going to sign big money elsewhere in terms of that. Zach Wilson, no. Trans, no. Brissett makes the most sense for them to be the Brissett, Justin Fields, maybe Carson Wentz, maybe Taylor Heineke. All right, those are the ones that you're looking at as potential ones if you want to bring them in there in that one. I think Russell Wilson re-signs with the Steelers. Okay, he's I think he's out. Although he did flirt with the Giants for a little bit. He might try to do the same thing again. Hey guys, I know I messed up the first time. I've changed. I've really changed. Okay, I go over. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm sticking with Steelers. Thanks though for helping me get more money. Something like that. So it's like you know the devil that you know, and Drew Lock is the devil they know, and I wouldn't be adverse of them signing it. Just like you said, just don't sign him so outrageous contract or feel like you have to add a second or third year just to make sure he comes back in this one too. Because I like some parts of his game. I don't think this whole 4 touchdown, 330-yard thing is something you'll see on a regular. Gets the right set in a perfect set world, you'll see this with him, but yeah, nah. It ain't happening with this one too. So yeah, it's crazy in terms of that. But we're going to see Locke start again in his regular season finale against the Eagles, who are going to be resting everybody. Saquon Barkley sitting; he's not going to go after the record. Jalen Hurts, Kenny Pickett, the backup. So you're going to be down. The Eagles going to be down to third string quarterback Tanner McKee. And
I love it.
It's a Tanner Bowl. That's a guy. I doubt it won't be an interdivision trade, but maybe, who knows? Maybe the Giants try to trade for Pickett or
he looked good. I've seen some of the highlights. I mean, he looked good.
Yeah, I mean, all 4 passes on were great. Yeah. all four passes, that's crazy. But yeah, I look at this and it's you're going to see a lot of backups in terms of that, which is dangerous in terms of, if you're looking at, once again, the draft pick situation. Do you think the Giants will move further down the draft board and beat the Eagles' backup players?
I think the Giants are going to look to beat the brakes off the Eagles this week, which is something I never thought I'd say this season. Yeah, listen, it is. They should absolutely not win this game. Again, I've talked about it. You can fall from anywhere. You can rise to number 1 if you lose. And then if you lose, your range is number 1 to number 4, right? That's what you can do. And you need some help from teams that might actually, like you said, like the Patriots might pull up a win this week. The other 2 teams, I don't think they will. The Browns or the Titans, I don't think they will. But if they win, at best they can get number 4, and that will definitely not happen. They have the highest strength of schedule among all the would-be 4-loss teams, right? So they'll be the Bears have technically a higher strength schedule, but that is going to change this weekend too, potentially. They should not win this game. Oh my gosh, they absolutely should not win this game. I mean, you can maybe ball out, maybe try to turn it into some sort of rock or some sort of mini shootout like last week was. Make it exciting at least for us, but do not under any circumstances win this game. I mean, you've done it 13 times this year. You've learned how to lose. Just lose this one. I mean, you got to get this better pick. If they fall down to 9. Oh my gosh! It would. This is like, at least with the DeVito winning 6 games, or the Giants scraping out 6 wins last year. At least you still had the number 6 pick, right? Falling to 9, this would be one of the, I mean, really dumbest decisions in franchise history. I mean, it's already pretty much stands alone as maybe the worst season in franchise history, and that's 100 years of a sample size we're working with. But this would go down, them winning this game, as one of the dumbest decisions in franchise history too. And again, this is not Lovie Smith grinding out a win and falling from 1 to 2. No. You're falling from 4 to 9 potentially. Do not win this game, Giants. Do not win this game. But again, it's the microcosm of the whole season, of everything that I've had to deal with covering this team this year. Everything, they are the what is it called? They everything that could go wrong will go wrong. That is the Giants. That is the Giants this year, man. Cannot stress this enough. They will probably win this game because it's the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm looking at it, and I know it's not a betting show, but the line was like they only had to. Is a 3.5 point favorite. The Giants 3.5 point favorites were on the back. I was like, wait, that's it?
Yeah.
And like, come on, like I don't see like I see the Giants going this way too, especially if the Eagles decide to go. Okay, our second team's out there. Let's put our third team out there. More of our third teamers out there because they're going to pull a couple guys from draft practice squad, and you see a lot of familiar names when you enact. So you start to see that you're like, all right, let's kind of see what's ahead. I could see Neighbors breaking one potentially.
Yep.
Against somebody, even though they have like Isaiah Rodgers and Keely Ringo and the Eagles, I could see him breaking one potentially, and the pass rush not being as effective. So yeah, the possibility is there. I wonder, and this is where I know you're not allowed to have cell phones and communication, all that stuff with the bots. I wonder if they're going to make sure that somebody says, Mr. Mars said you need to you change things right now for it. If you want to value your job, you need to change things. And I don't know if that's going to happen. Like, you sure about that? I don't know. But
when they started losing, sorry to cut you off. When they started losing, because Mara gave them the vote of confidence, right? Right after the Eagles game. When they lost every game, obviously they broke that streak, but they were on a 10-game losing streak. It was a franchise record. Me and Daryl were kind of like thinking like, okay, this is really bad. Like everything that it's Murphy's Law, right? They're the Murphy's Law Giants. Everything that can go wrong has gone wrong with them since that moment, especially. We thought to ourselves, did they maybe get, was this vote of confidence real that, did they get the green light to tank? But then we thought, Mara would never want to tank. And then this last game obviously proved that. I kind of see, I think the Giants are going to win this game. I think and it's going to be a lot of just garbage time performances. It's going to be, Malik Neighbors obviously is a good player. But he's going to break free against the, like you said, second and third stringers. I think I don't really care either way. I think it actually kind of makes it a little more interesting for us if they do win and their draft order is messed up. I think it does. But holy heck, man, do not do it. If you value, the franchise's future, you will not win this game.
Yes, that's true. And Ryan, we got a couple minutes here left in this. And thank you everybody for listening to this. I'm going to ask you, this is the last time we talk to you before Black Monday. I want to get your predictions. Will Shane, not Mara, because I know although a lot of people wish Mara was going to be fired, but yeah, they can't do that. Will Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll still be here at least a week after when the season's over?
Here's what I think. I think if the Giants were smart, both men would be gone. Both would be gone. Heck, if they were smart, they would treat them as a pair, either both gone or both staying, right? But I think here's what the Giants are going to do, because every report that has come out recently seems to be predicting this. It's a little all too on the nose, right? I think it's going to be Joe Schoen staying, and I think it's going to be Brian Daboll leaving, and I think that's going to be a disaster. I mean, it's just, this is John Mara not learning his lesson in the slightest over the past couple of years. I mean, and this is. It's a train wreck. This franchise is I cannot believe how many decisions they've done this year that have just blown up in their face completely. And I think this will be another one because, if that's the case, if you're bringing back Shane, you're basically saying, okay, yeah, his 2024 draft class was good enough to save his job, because that's the only redeeming quality. Well, I'm sorry, but what about the other two or three draft? I think it was just two. What about the other two draft classes, which he's completely messed up? I think that's kind of going to be what the end result is here, and I don't think it's the right one.
Yeah, the more and more I look at this, I think if it had to go like, okay, you had to keep one or the other, I think you keep Daboll and then you bring a GM, but it's never going to happen like that. I think personally, it's tough seeing it from far. I'd probably say he might get pressured so much. Wire rights feel the pressure outside and they do clean house, but I do see Shane getting one more crack at it. And after everything we saw this past, also, and you see General managers have good off seasons and bad off seasons. We've seen that. But with you look at it's 2 in a row now that we've seen this. You're supposed to be when you're getting into this role, you're supposed to be trending upward or at least remain steady. And we're seeing him continue to go downward. We've reached a peak moment of this one. And if they bring back Shane, just like they're making they're thinking about making t-shirts down in Dallas says, "Thank you, Jerry. Keep doing a great job." I think you'll see some t-shirts made up for that saying, "Thank you, Mara, you're doing a great job," because they'll keep doing that. They're just looking at another. We already figured next year's going to be a losing season, but because they're rebelling, it's just going to be bad, just prolonging the inevitable, in my opinion, in terms of that. Oh, it's fun times, but it's a Happy New Year. It's a new year. Who knows? But happy. Well, Ryan, Happy New Year. Thank you very, very much for joining again. And thank you all out there for listening to us again. Make sure to read Ryan and Daryl Slater's work on NJ.com/Giants. They'll have everything up to the minute, including if or when one Joe Schoen or Brian Daboll are fired. The draft coverage will be starting. It's one of the exciting times for the year for a lot of people, seeing what's coming in new. So make sure to read their stuff. They'll be on top of it, and it'll be great to read. So for Ryan, I'm Chris. Everybody have a good one. See ya.